What is happening, sports fans? It's your main man, Matt, from the DFS 5-pack. I am rocking it solo. It is Tuesday, December 14th. Hopefully everyone had a great Monday, enjoyed that football game. It was a pretty good game. Back and forth. The Rams look like, when they're playing, when they can get that play action pass going, it looks like, they're still one of the best teams in the league. So be interested to see how the NFC West shapes out for the rest of the year. Excited for more NFL this weekend. The Browns play on Saturday. We got 3 NBA games to talk about tonight. I'm just going to make one video, members only for the public. Obviously, a lot of COVID news, so just got to stay tuned for updates. And, if you're playing NBA DFS these days, you got to kind of stay with it all night, and at least until the last game locks, just because you never know what news you're going to get. Before I dive into the actual slate itself, I'm going to shout out our promoters real quick. So first off, Jazz Sports. If you sign up and join Jazz Sports, you get a no-risk wager up to $1,000 on your first bet. That's $1,000 back if your first wager is graded a loss. You just can't beat that. There aren't really those kind of deals to go around this industry. So I suggest you check that out. And then Loose Lines. Loose Lines is a site I like a lot. They have really good lines and odds over there, reduced juice and other perks. You get an additional 50% off when you deposit there. So a lot of good things going on over there. I'm having a call with my guy there this afternoon, and hopefully the betting content will start to come this week. That being said, let's dive into this NBA slate. 3 games, a lot of news. I will try to get through this as quick as possible because I know some people like those shorter videos. All right. So Toronto, Brooklyn, a ton of news here, starting with the Brooklyn side. So big news here is, a bunch of COVID news. James Johnson's out. Millsap was already out. LaMarcus Aldridge is out. DeAndre Bembry is out. So Brooklyn's really shallow, and that doesn't even mention KD being questionable. So if KD's out, you can't lock in James Harden fast enough. If KD's in, I think they're both in play just because they're so shorthanded, but those guys are expensive. The guy that looks like just an absolute lock right now is going to be Nick Claxton at 3,100. We've seen this guy produce before. Again, maybe more solid than spectacular, but I have to imagine he plays big minutes tonight. There's a lot of good center value, so that's the only reason I would say he's not an absolute lock. Obviously, there's JaVale McGee. There's guys for Toronto. There's Kevon Looney. So Claxton looks like the top value piece of the Nets. I think Blake Griffin could potentially find himself back in the rotation. If KD plays, that will change everything. Cam Thomas and Bruce Brown. Cam Thomas is a guy I liked a lot coming out of LSU, just a pure scorer. He's not a direct beneficiary of those injuries because most of those guys are big men, but he's just going to play more minutes. They're starting to trust him more anyways. We really have to wait and see on the KD news to finalize a decision on Brooklyn, but all these cheap guys are in play. And if KD's out, I think you just lock in Harden. And then we look at Toronto, who's got a couple guys that just look like really good plays. Chris Boucher continuing to start. Lost run because of the blowout, has been productive every game. Price is up a little bit, and there are other really good big men plays tonight. So I don't think he's like a stone cold lock, but I do like him here. All these Toronto guys are a little bit cheaper. They lost run last night because they rolled. Siakam, I'm always a fan of. Van Vliet, off game last night, but they just didn't need him. Scotty Barnes was really good in his time out there. All the Toronto guys are in play for me. Boucher is probably the priority just because of his price tag and the production and what is presumably going to be a close game, with Brooklyn lacking a lot of their big men inside. So I like Boucher a lot here, and I also like the other Toronto pieces. I think you're chasing with Watanabe, small slate. So all these guys are worth taking a look at, but probably not where I go. Trent Jr.'s price is down a little bit. He's fine. Fits in with those other Toronto guys in my eyes. Now we get to another spot that looks like it's going to have a bunch of plays. So as far as the Knicks go, we've got R.J. Barrett out, Quentin Grimes out, Obi Toppin out. So to me, I think Alec Burks and Derrick Rose look like really strong plays. Burks' price is stabilized a little bit, but I think he's got big upside here in a game that I think is going to be close. D Rose played, I think, 37 minutes and 33 minutes the game before that. 5K, he looks like one of the better plays on the slate. Emmanuel quickly at 4,600s in play. Rose and Burks would be my priorities. Julius Randle, fine with him. They've been in a bunch of blowouts, so if this game's close, I mean, we know Randle has upside at 9,200. For me, Burks and Rose look like the priorities. And then from Golden State, I like Steph Curry a lot here. Got going late last night. They won a game they probably didn't deserve to win. Hasn't had the big game in a minute. I think once he breaks a three-point record, the pressure is going to be off. He's going to do that early tonight. So he's my favorite stud on the slate. Obviously, that changes if KD's out, and then it's just James Harden. But I like Steph here. Like him a lot. Going to the Mecca. He's my preferred spend-up option. And then a guy I mentioned earlier, got to take a look at, is Kevon Looney. So he's playing good ball right now, playing decent minutes, 23-plus DK points in 3 straight. I'm not really buying all this. He's just not that good of a DFS player, but he's 3,200 and probably doesn't get much love with Claxton and McGee and other guys on this slate that are more desirable on paper. All right, Phoenix and Portland. And obviously, all the secondary pieces from the Knicks, Evan Fournier, et cetera, are in play as well. Which is not going to be a priority for me. So we got Phoenix and Portland. Portland's a little bit of an interesting nut to crack right now. So we saw Larry Nance start over Robert Covington at 4,300. I think Nance is a solid play at 2,600. I also think that Robert Covington at 3,400 is a good play. He played 34 minutes last game in a close game. Didn't score the ball, but had 5 steals and 4 blocks. Can't count on that, but I would assume he scores more than 3 real points. 3,400, you could do a lot worse. He's one of my favorite spend-on value plays on the slate. I seem to have a love-hate relationship with Rocco. I'm back on him now. Nasir Little, I like Nance and Rocco more. Dame is obviously back. McCollum's out. I don't think Dame's a bad play at 9,700. The Clippers coming off a back-to-back. Portland needs a dub, so I could see Dame playing really well here. Simon's at 5,600s in play, cheaper than Dennis Smith Jr. He's obviously the guy they prefer there. Yeah, let's see. Nurk, I don't know. I don't trust Nurk. Not playing big minutes. Rocco and Nance, I think, are the guys I'd go there. And then as far as Phoenix goes, so still no Devin Booker. Aiton's questionable. I mean, if he's out, you just lock in JaVale McGee, and we probably won't know. This game's 2.5 hours after after the other 2 games lock. So it's a 3-game slate. McGee's going to be popular regardless. But if we don't get the news, I think McGee is probably he'll definitely be lower on than he should if Aiton's out. And then even if at 4,200, I was saying this yesterday, even if Aiton's in, it's not like McGee's a bad play. I don't think Aiton plays like a ton of minutes in his first game back. McGee should play his normal 16, maybe upwards of 20. And at 4,200, he can get there easily. It's a good spot for Phoenix here, coming off a bad loss last night to the Clippers, who were missing Paul George. CP3's price is stabilized at 8,400. He's a fine play. He's a cog type, not a guy I'm like going out of my way for, but he's fine. If Ayton plays, he's sneaky at 7,500, just given the fact that no one will be on him in the late game. So, and the other guy's Landry Shamet. So 2 guys I forgot to bring up. One is Shamet. No thanks there. He plays decent minutes. He just doesn't get there. And then Kevin Knox, who all of a sudden played 29 minutes last game with those guys out. Could definitely see him have similar run tonight now with Quentin Grimes out. So he's someone to at least consider. And I forgot. Otto Porter's out for Golden State. So that does open up, if you want to get to like the Bielitsas of the world, Damian Lee. These guys are cheap. None of them are particularly desirable. But, with Porter out, wouldn't be shocked if one of those guys got there. If I'm building right now, it's tough to build right now. It's actually a fool's errand just because we don't know about the KD news. If KD's out, Harden's a lock. Those other Brooklyn guys are stronger plays. For a 3-gamer, this is a tough nut to crack just because there's injury news all over. There's cheap value. You're really going to have to pick and choose between value that, hypothetically should all be really popular. But it can't all be really popular because can only roster 8 guys. So, yeah, fun slate for a 3-gamer. I'm around if you have any questions. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a longer video for those of you who aren't members. If you want more content, more info, more videos, any of that stuff, come check out the DFS 5-pack. We'd love to have you. And go check out Jazz Sports and Loose Lines. The links will be in the description section of my video. I appreciate you guys as always. Have a great Tuesday.